Hello everyone, Jacquie Edwards here. Thank you so much for joining me today. You'll notice well, first of all, I'm not wearing my glasses, which is a little bit odd because I had my sunglasses on earlier. But anyways, I just wanted to share with you from one of my properties. So you'll notice my background's a little bit different. I'm actually in one of the rooms in one of our houses. And what I wanted to talk about today, let me just sit down and relax and share with you a little bit. So what I wanted to talk about today is considering managing some of your voids or your empty rooms in your HMOs using Airbnb. Now, this time of year, so it's summertime right now, so we're just kind of end of June, is really good for Airbnb in probably most places. So you're getting lots of travelers. If you're in a student area, you might be getting lots of summer students, people that are just coming in for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. So this is, and again, depending on where you are, you might be getting kind of holiday makers, that type of thing. So this time of year is quite good for your short-term kind of Airbnb type bookings. Now, usually this time of year is also really, really high for, starting to get your long-term tenants as well. So we're kind of coming out of a low period, kind of at the beginning of the year. So, and just where it's starting to really ramp up to, lots of tenants are kind of moving, finding new jobs. They're kind of shuffling around a lot in the summer when the weather's a bit nicer. We all kind of hibernate in the winter when the weather's miserable and we don't want to do anything. So what we've found is that, yes, while our long-term market is picking up, so we're getting a lot more messages and a lot more viewings from spare room, we are having a lot more rooms coming empty because lots of our other tenants are moving because they're changing jobs or whatever it is. So in order to kind of take off some of the pressure, I've decided to put some of our rooms on Airbnb to do a little bit of not quite serviced accommodation, but short-term lets. So they're not getting kind of full service because they are just staying in a room in an HMO. But we are trialing this out just to see if we can, have a few people stay for a couple of weeks, make a little bit of money while we focus on some of the other rooms. So once we get those other rooms rented out, then we can have the space to rent these ones out. So our busy term here in Oxford for kind of finding new tenants is probably June through October for sure. So kind of the end of October, and that's when we start a little bit slowing down again. So we're really focusing in now on kind of renting out some of our really key rooms, but some of the nicer ones like this one, and I'll flip the camera around in a second and show you around, but this one makes a perfect kind of short-term Airbnb type rental. So we're trialing it out just to see what it's like to post some of our HMO rooms on Airbnb for short-term rentals. Now, I've always been a little bit reluctant to do this in the past because while you can make money, and I know I can always rent these rooms out via Airbnb, because I've got long-term tenants living in the property, I don't want to have all that change in their life where there's constantly new people moving in and out of rooms, and it's a bit unsettling for my long-term tenants. So that's why I haven't wanted to do this in the past, and that's why I'm just trialing it out right now in a couple of select properties. So that's one of the main considerations. If you've got an HMO with long-term tenants, you want to think about how you're going to introduce this to them, how you're going to kind of introduce the concept that, one of these rooms is going to have multiple occupants in it, not at the same time, but kind of regularly coming in and out. So there's always going to be somebody new living in their house, basically. So they might not like that. And that's completely understandable to me. So this is why I don't want to do this in all of my properties or kind of on a larger scale, because I'm cognizant that it might not be that comfortable for my long-term tenants. But in a room like this one, so let me just flip the camera around. So I'll just show you through. So this room actually has like its own entrance. So it's got an ensuite. So it's got its ensuite shower room and a toilet and everything. But it's also got its own private entrance. So that's the entrance to the main door to the house. That's the entrance to the main part of the house. So that goes to the kind of kitchen and some of the communal bathrooms and the communal living room. So for this person coming from Airbnb, they don't have to really interact with the rest of the house. If they're coming and going at strange hours, they can kind of come through this door and come straight into their own little world here. So it lessens the kind of disruption to the long-term tenants. Again, they've got their own bathroom, so that just makes things easier. Again, they don't have to share with the communal bathroom, and it's easier for me to make sure that that bathroom is clean. And they've got a little fridge, so we've got a little fridge that they can use here. You can see all my bedding and stuff piled up because I'm just going to make the bed and stuff. And then they've just got everything that a normal room would have. I'm going to be putting a nice carpet down because we've got kind of wood laminate floors, which makes it a little cold. So I'm going to pop a carpet down. But yeah, otherwise, this is in a great location. So we're just off the Iffley Road in Oxford. And yeah, it's everything that kind of makes quite a good Airbnb room, I think. Again, having that ensuite bathroom is quite important because while people are happy to get a cheap price and stay in a room, we actually just had this problem at one of the houses. I found this happens quite regularly, is people book an Airbnb expecting like a 5-star, all services, all singing, all dancing, like hotel room. I try to do that. We've got a flat that we put on Airbnb. It's nice. It's not, 5-star, but it's what it is, and it's not a 5-star price. The same with these rooms. So I've actually got my rooms rented out at marked at a really cheap price right now. So I had somebody book it. They were supposed to stay for more than a week. Then they decided to just stay for the weekend because of a family emergency. And then I got a message for her the second day she was there saying, oh my God, the bathrooms are dire. She can't stay here anymore. And they've checked out and moved somewhere else. Now, again, this is a shared house. They had to share the bathrooms with people. I had been there the day before. Everything was clean. We've got a cleaner that goes twice a month to these properties. We haven't had complaints from the long-term tenants. It's just different standards and different expectations from people. So, this girl and her boyfriend thought they were going to stay here. I think it's only like £25 a night or something right now, just as I'm trialing it out. So for £25 a night, and I don't know what she thought she was going to get, but her room had been freshly cleaned. The rest of the house was in pretty good condition for, a shared house. So it's just monitoring those expectations. I've had great reviews from the other people that have stayed. So it's just kind of staying on top of this. Where this room here, I can make sure that their bathroom is clean because it is just for them. I can have my cleaners go in and take care of everything. So this is just what I wanted to share with you as something we're looking at right now to use for some of our empty rooms. And even some of the rooms that are coming available. So I've got another great property in North Oxford, and that's a really, really popular area. So we shouldn't have any problem filling that room. But again, it's an ensuite bedroom in Summertown. So I should be able to command quite high rates from it on Airbnb. So I am just seeing what kind of inquiries I get about the room while we're still doing viewings for long-term tenants. So the room, the current tenant doesn't move out until kind of mid-July. So we've got a couple of weeks. We've only just started doing viewings. So we're just playing around and testing it out. But if you've got some empty rooms, if you've got some voids, this could be a really good way of just filling them short-term. I've got a message. Let me see if I can find the paper buried under all of these. So this is just a little welcome note that I give to people. You can see some of my information there. That just tells them it just gives them, here's a little bit of information about the property. It says this is for sharing. This is a shared house. It goes through, you can use the dishes, but please don't take other people's food. And it also talks about, where was the one I wanted to mention? Viewings. So I also mentioned that we will be potentially looking for a long-term guest for this room, a long-term occupant. So our team will be kind of in and out of the property, from our handyman to, somebody doing viewings, and that we'll try to let them know before we do a viewing in their room, but we may pop in from time to time. And again, because this isn't an AST tenant, I don't have to give them 24 hours notice. This is, they're just on a license. So while, yes, we're going to give them notice before we start showing and doing viewings in the room that they're renting, we do just want to give them that heads up that this is something that's possible. And, no, we don't legally have to let them know before all of our team are kind of wandering around the property. So just some things to think about if, you've got some rooms that are going a little bit more slowly, you've got some empty ones, or you might just want to try it out. Now, we're not at the moment making loads of extra money from this because, again, I have the rooms priced quite low because I'm looking to test it out. I want to get the people in, and I want to get some good reviews as well, just to make sure that, this is working. People do look at reviews on Airbnb and stuff. So it's, so far, it's been interesting to manage it all. I'm getting loads and loads of requests. I've probably got 4 or 5 rooms on there. And another thing I have just learned from Airbnb is that you don't have to have one specific property. So you can have one ad on Airbnb that covers a number of properties. So one of the things I'm planning on doing later this week is having kind of like a mystery room or a mystery house where you can reserve a room. And, I'll say it will be somewhere within the Oxford Ring Road, or it'll be somewhere in OX3 or OX4. And you can, as long as that Airbnb said, as long as you're really specific in your ad that this isn't that specific house, you'll stay just kind of wherever, and this is the area you'll stay in, that's completely fine. And that way I can just put them into whatever room I have kind of available at the moment. So that could help for any of your kind of shorter term voids here and there. I mean, we've usually got a room kicking around that's empty, whether we're doing a slightly longer changeover, because sometimes we need to do a bit of painting and decorating, or it's just a bit slower period, or, the one tenant's moved out and the new tenant isn't moving in for a week or two. We've always generally got a room kicking around. We've got, over 100 rooms now. So there is always something available. So that could be something to consider as well. So instead of having each room listed out individually, you've just got one ad that says, hey, you'll stay in whatever room we've got available at the time. You can have it at a slightly cheaper price for people that are pretty flexible on where they're staying. And you can just always make that little bit of extra money. With Airbnb, it's not instant booking, so you can turn it on so that you have to accept every single booking, which is what I'm doing at the moment, because I just want to make sure everything lines up in my calendar properly. Because that was one of my other concerns, is that I'd put this room and say, yes, it's available for bookings for the next 3 months. And somebody would book it, it's June, end of June now, they'd book it for the 30th of July. And, and so that would be still kind of a long empty period before they came and stayed. And I wouldn't be able to start advertising for a long-term tenant until after they left, and it could still make all kinds of voids. So I'm still managing that process quite closely, and I'm only taking bookings for people that want to stay within the next 2 weeks and start their bookings then, because I don't want to create a big gap where I can't find a permanent tenant till after that. But otherwise, those are just a few things to think about. I hope you found this useful. If you want more really great tips, head to my website, renttorentacademy.co.uk, or just stick around here on the page, and I will be back again next week. Thank you so much, and see you again soon.